If you're a recent graduate and you're having trouble finding a job, you're not alone.
It's bleak.
Well, I've applied for maybe 400 or 500 plus jobs.
I feel like I'm just throwing darts at a wall and hoping to get lucky and hit something.
This chart shows Canada's youth unemployment rate for new grads under 25. Outside of the pandemic, the rate is the highest it's been since the mid-90s. So how did we get here?
The Canadian labor market overall was in a real job seekers market coming out of the pandemic.
Businesses were hungry to hire, but there weren't enough workers available. The federal government decided to bump up immigration, which led to record growth, especially among the Gen Z and millennial working population. But hiring appetite eventually came back down to earth.
And at that same time, we also had other conditions that starting to slow the economy down.
Inflation was skyrocketing, and the Bank of Canada hiked interest rates to cool it down. But expensive borrowing rates made businesses more reluctant to hire. And just as we got past those challenges, Trump imposed tariffs on Canada. Now the economy could be headed towards a recession, and businesses are pulling back again. Anecdotally, young workers today are also dealing with challenges that previous generations didn't have to.
Some of the more routine, mundane tasks that used to be filled by a summer student or a co-op student are now being automated or outsourced to AI. So we're seeing, I think, a decrease in the opportunities, the entry-level opportunities for young people.
So are there any long-term consequences to being unemployed in your youth? Well, it depends. But graduating during an economic downturn can lead to something called wage scarring.
Long-term earnings prospects are dampened for people graduating during the recession, not because they're not getting jobs, but eventually they fall into a part of the labor market that isn't as high paying in types of occupations that they didn't anticipate doing. This having longer term implications really refers to very deep recessions, like the recession we saw in the early 1990s, like the recession we saw in the early 1980s.
It won't be clear for months whether Canada has technically entered a recession, but the experts I spoke to said high youth unemployment rates can be a canary in the coal mine, an early indicator of what's to come elsewhere in the labor market, and these young people are feeling it.
You know, there's a whole talk about there's a recession coming. I'm not an economist, but I can also see it as well.
It is disheartening, but at the same time, it is because of the market. It's not really me that may be the issue.
It doesn't seem good for anyone right now, so that's kind of what keeps me going.